Hello there, you are watching The Pulse on the JoyNews channel. Coming up this hour, senior high schools reopen for academic activities, but there are fears of an imminent food shortage as government is yet to release bursaries to some senior high schools across the country. This afternoon on The Pulse, we hear from the Conference of Heads of Assisted Second Cycle Institutions as they appeal for the release of the funds. There's more coming your way. First, it was Alan, and now it is Dr. Akoto Afriye. The Minister for Agriculture says he's leaving office. This afternoon on The Pulse, we find out why 2 cabinet ministers are resigning from post, leaving President Akufo-Addo in the middle of an economic crisis. We'll get you the latest. Stop defending illegality, the caution of John Dramani Mahama to President Akufo-Addo over his recent comments on the operations of Akunta Mining Company, which is being investigated for the alleged their alleged involvement in illegal mining activities. And later we have Africa Connect for you. We're taking you to the Gambia. The government there is charging 8 soldiers for treason after a failed coup attempt. What's the latest? We'll get all of that for you here on The Pulse. I'm Blessed Sogah. The Pulse, as always, is brought to you by Global Communities, Digni Lu, Affordable Safe Sanitation, DSTV channel 421, GoTV channel 144. These are some of the platforms on which you can get us, and also on social media at JoyNews on TV. Thanks for joining us. JoyNews is independent, fearless, and credible. Welcome to The Pulse. Well, this afternoon, Minister for Food and Agriculture, Dr. Akoto Afriye, says he's quitting the job. The government appointee is expected to run for the presidential slot of the New Patriotic Party, which says it is in search for President Akufo-Addo's successor. Well, Dr. Akoto Afriye is the second appointee to quit his job for the race after Trade Minister Alan Jermating, another cabinet minister, took leave of the Akufo-Addo government last week. Well, let's get more now from presidential correspondent Elton Brobe, who's at the Jubilee House, where a lot of activities have been taking place. Elton, bring us up to speed with what's happening currently. We're an hour away from the time that he was scheduled to meet the President of the Republic. But do we know if officially the Greek minister has indeed tendered his resignation?
Yes, Blessed. I think we'll have to wait a little longer before we get finality on that matter. When I spoke to him before midday, he told me he had been given 2 p.m. time to meet with the president. But per the arrangement or per the president's own program for today, as I speak to you now, he's engaged in a meeting with the General Council of the Assemblies of God Church in his office. So it looks like we'll have to wait a little longer for that program to end before Dr. Afriye will have his moment with President Akufo-Addo. He confirmed to me on phone that he's been given 2 p.m. and also confirmed to me that he was coming here to tender him his resignation. Also indicated that even after today's meeting, he will still hold on to office for the next 2 weeks before he will leave the Agric Ministry finally. So regarding the status of his resignation, he says confirmed he's had verbal discussion with President Akufo-Addo. He's only formalizing it with a letter. And then hopefully after this meeting with the General Council of Assemblies of God, we're just waiting for him to come.
But I'm interested in that conversation you had with this government appointee. He indicated to you that, well, he's leaving office, but he wants to do that in a period of 2 weeks. What's the explanation to that?
So this was, it is the Agric Minister himself who told me that he will resign today formally, but I think there's obviously going to be a period within which we'll have to hand over finally to somebody whom the president may appoint as caretaker or in a substantive manner. So perhaps that is the arrangement he has had with President Akufo-Addo verbally. And he was quite clear that he will present the letter today, but he will still stay in office for at least 2 weeks before he will leave the Agric Ministry finally. This is what he told me before midday. So that's been the, according to him, that's the arrangement. But he's coming here today is formally to, tender in the letter of resignation and then start the process of handing over.
What sense do you get from the Jubilee House watching the demeanor of staffers at the presidency? Does this look like it's something the president will negotiate on? Try at least to ask the Greek minister who's running one of his flagship programs, Planting for Food and Jobs. That's a critical aspect to Ghana's economic performance. So given his role in this program, do you see the president trying to ask the Greek minister to hold on a bit?
I think we've gone beyond that stage. I think what is clear is that, there is no holding back. The Greek minister is set to go, and he is going on his own volition. And that he's decided that the time is now for him to step aside and allow full concentration at the ministry so that he can also concentrate on his personal ambition, which for now we know that he has made it quite clear that he will put himself up for election when the party opens nomination, subsequently go for National Delegates Congress to elect a flag bearer. So he's made it quite clear that the time for talk is over. Indeed, we were told last week that he wanted to follow Alan Chemantem, but then we had information that he had been talked out of, putting in a formal letter of resignation. Now he confirms on phone that he's come to that decision and there's no going back, and that there's been a verbal, acceptance of it. What he's coming here to do is basically to make it official, and that he's had an extensive discussion with President Akufo-Addo, and that's how come he's coming here today. So today we're working as a Greek minister, he worked out as outgoing Greek minister. That is his position on the matter. And he's not hidden his intention at all, but he's made it clear from the one that he will want to run as president on the ticket of the MPP. He's told us that in 2007, he supported President Akufo-Addo against the 16 other contestants. And that he made it clear to President Akufo-Addo, whom he called Billy, that he was going to support him until he was elected president of the republic. And then when he is done, he will now put himself up for election. So he is only following his own timetable in terms of, working to the high office of a president as to whether the party delegates and the people of this country will give him the note. That's another discussion we can have later. But for now, he's more than convinced in his mind that he's the best person for the MPP in their quest to break the 8. And that process, to formalize it, have the luxury of going and the freedom of going to the constituencies, the region, the districts, to convince them without infringing on his ministerial oath. That is what you want to do today.
Elton Brobe, presidential correspondent, giving us the latest on the status of the Greek minister. Dr. Efriye Koto, we're still watching that space and that meeting up ahead. I want to bring in political scientist Dr. Asante with the University of Ghana. Doc, thank you for your time. Second cabinet minister to exit Akufo-Addo's government in less than 7 days. That's strange, isn't it?
It is not. Blessed, it is not. It is part of the process. It is important that those who really want to contest must leave office so that they create space for those who will come and fill the space and then work to, support the government to deliver on its mandate. That's it.
Why they will be doing this at this time? This is a government that wants to, quote, break the 8, and that will be hinged on the performance of the NPP government or administration. They're in the middle of an economic crisis. You have sensitive positions. The Trades Ministry and the Greek Ministry, which is dealing with the Planting for Food and Jobs campaign, critical and crucial to dealing with inflation that we're experiencing in this country. All the ministers in charge of such critical sectors are leaving office for their presidential gain. I mean, to what end? Is that a politically correct move to take?
It is, because touch wood, even if these people are not in government or they are not alive, for God forbid anyway, are you saying that the government will not run? The government will run, all right? But The problem is that when you continue to keep them in office, and we have the hope that they are working for the state, meanwhile, they are working for themselves with regard to their vision and aspiration, then it becomes a problem. So I believe that they have done the honorable thing, leaving office and then, saying goodbye to the government machinery. Now they are out there to do their own thing, to champion the cause that they believe in. I think that is it. And we are not also saying that there are people that cannot be replaced. Their position will be filled by people who are equally competent, and then take it from where they are going to leave off. That's it.
Well, first there was Alan. We're yet to hear from him on his official bid to contest as the presidential candidate for the NPP. But then I want us to talk about the man in question now, the Greek minister, Dr. Efriye Koto, as to what he brings on board politically. Is this a fair practice for us now to compare the two figures involved? In that lead up to the race, who do you see as the most preferred and likely to make it out as the candidate, the one that eventually delegates will settle on?
Oh, that is a difficult question to answer as to whether he will win or not. You need data from the ground, and I've not gone to the field to say that. But we can do some analysis regarding his candidature if he really put himself up for it. In such elections, we call the intra-party election within elections. One, you look for popularity. You must be popular with the rank and file of the party, especially those who have the mandate to vote, right? You need to be popular among them. Not only that, but you should also be somebody who have something that you bring to bear on the political system. What am I talking about? We are talking about your record. Are you with me?
Yeah.
You are going to look at your record. That because politics, as I've always said, is what a contest of ideas and a referendum of your work. So yes, you want to bring ideas to bear on the political system, but you want to see the
precisely why I was asking the question, because even in government, some may compare their achievement and contribution to the performance of the NPP administration. So let's start off from the Greek minister, for instance. This is someone who supervised the Planting for Food and Jobs campaign. Yet we're still experiencing food inflation. He's argued his side out. He believes it's a matter of other factors, transport, and the fact that in the hinterland you have food in abundance. But really comparing his track record as to what he's done so far, do you feel that the members of the NPP will be pleased with what he's done as a Greek minister?
Obviously, he can't satisfy everybody, but he has something that he will show as part of his records, all right? And that is not the only grounds on which that the people are going to consider and vote for him. There are other factors as well. One is that his marketability. Is he marketable within the party? Let us remember that after the intra-party election, it's going to be what all nations are fair. And you need somebody who is not only marketable within his party, but that he is also marketable within Ghana. And that is one of the things. We want to see somebody who has constituencies. What constituencies, what am I talking about? What are some of the people who will always stand for him and all that? He comes from Ashanti region, of course. That will be one of his strongholds. Any other places that he has also tried to work and gain their support will be his constituency.
Right.
And that is also crucial. We also want to see somebody who also will be able to, if elected, will be able to rub shoulders with any flag bearer from any of the political parties. Is that the candidate that we are talking about here? Yes, these are the kind of questions that will agitate the minds of the voters in deciding who to vote for. But not only your records. Yeah, your records. He supervised Planting for Food and Jobs. He's now going to answer questions from that when he meet the voters. They will throw questions at him. They will also want to ask him about issue of fertilizer and whatnot. All these things will come to play. And of course, his achievement. There's no doubt that he has also worked to achieve certain results from his ministry. And then other factors will also come to bear. What are the factors I'm talking about? Resource mobilization. You need resources to be able to prosecute this type of agenda. You need strategy that really works. And then you need message that resonates with the people, both within and outside the political party. And above all, you need a manifesto, a program of action that will really be alive with the needs and aspirations of the people within the party. These are a host of factors that voters will consider in giving their mandate. So it's not very simple. That is only your record or your ideas.
And my attention is... Yeah, my attention is just being drawn to the historical facts as well. This is son of Bafo Kutu as well. Yeah, I mean, the sense of entitlement was definitely setting, isn't it? He would say, I'm the owner of the tradition. I'm the one who's rightfully the one to take on the tradition and sustain it. Would that be a factor?
Yes, it is a little plus for him, but let us remember that yes, Bafo Kutu, we are not talking about, himself, but right. His son. But I agree that some of these things will rob off him indirectly or directly, all right? But we want to see the real son, what is it that he has to show to the people of this country or his party members, and that's it. But there's no doubt that being the son of Bafo Kutu, the people who are party boys through and through, will also, some of them will be swayed by some of these things. But here you are. If you extend that argument, Bafo Kutu also married President President Kufuor's wife. So you realize that there's a connection with President Kufuor and all that. These are some of the constituencies I'm talking about that will also come to play and all that. But voters are looking at what? The problems of the country, that they want a candidate who is above reproach. They want a candidate who has his eyes on these things and have adequate knowledge to be able to address these problems. Because come 2024, that person will come face to face with the public, and then we want to see whether that individual who is a flag bearer for the party has what it takes to lead the party and then garner votes for the elections.
So let's look at President Akufo-Addo himself and what he should be doing now. There are reports, as we're getting from a presidential correspondent, that this may lead to a reshuffle. Of course, the president finally giving in now. We're not certain if that's what he would eventually do. But is this reinforcing the need for a reshuffle?
Oh, definitely. When a minister is out, somebody must come in. So there's a need for that space to be filled by another person, which the president has no choice, but he will fill it. But he will either, get somebody afresh to come and replace him, or he can, move somebody from deputy ministerial position to fill the substantive position, or he can have a caretaker, minister and all that. The choice is the president, and we will exercise it when the time comes.
The NPP itself, they've begun the reconciliation moves. They're meeting with all of the branches across the region starting from today. They're starting from the central region. Are these moves that will mend the faults within the party? And would you feel that, of course, trying to keep a united front will be crucial to that contest in 2024, knowing very well that some say, relatively speaking about the NDC, they have a smooth ride in terms of finding their next presidential candidate?
Oh, it is not a wrong move. It is an important exercise which ought to be done. So if they found a time to do it now, I am for it. All that they need to do is that it shouldn't be a mere talk shop. They should walk the talk. They should be able to mend differences. They should be able to assuage the pain of people, and they should be able to speak the language that will get people rally around the political party and then galvanize support for the party come 2024 elections. They have to do this. It is an evil necessity that all.
Doc, if you're with us, I was just about asking you about the status of the Vice President as well. The Vice President himself, he has not spoken to us here. He has not made public his intentions to run for that presidential race that's coming up. But many are raising concerns as to whether or not he should also be jostling for that, knowing that others have gone ahead of him. Doc, what would you suggest that the Vice President do in this case, knowing that he's still the Vice President and he needs to be mindful about that position as well?
I'm the one who speaks for the Vice President. Yeah,
but it will be a difficult time for him, isn't it? Knowing that others have gone ahead of him.
Oh, it is obviously a difficult time for him. But the Vice President is capable of managing his own affairs. So let's wait and see what he will do. But it's a difficult time. Is he going to, leave office and begin to campaign whilst we also look for a Vice President or not? A very difficult situation. But I'm sure that if he has his eyes on the seat, that is the flag bearership, contest that he want to contest, then obviously a time will come that he need to take a decision, and that decision he's prepared to go with the consequence that come with it. And I'm sure that he is such an astute politician and he knows what to do.
Right now, for the NPP, if there's a key factor they would need to consider, what would you advise that to be?
Oh, I believe that the NPP must prevail upon its members, especially those who want to contest, that the game of election is not through violence, rancor, bickering, and then backbiting and all that. It doesn't work out well for the party. Whatever that they are going to do in terms of putting themselves up for election, they should have at the back of their mind or bear in mind that if they churn out negative information against each other in their bid toward win power, those individuals, those eventually whoever comes up as tops of the contest and there are negative comments against him, they will become the building blocks for messages that are going to be churned against that individual in the next election, and that it will, be counterproductive for political campaign. You need to work hard whilst you are campaigning. You need to also work hard to answer some of those negative comments and all that. They should be mindful of that. They should also be mindful of the fact that you cannot just fold your arms and win. And then all that I'm saying is that the mantra of breaking the eight, you don't just pronounce that. It is by dint of hard work that gets you there. So this is a time that they should put their shoulders to the wheel and then work and support the government for the government to be able to leave a record or a legacy that they can stand on in campaign. And the last of it is that they should also make sure that they support the government to fix the economy. The economy is critical because one of the factors that influence voter choices is the economy, is the number one. Irrespective of party tradition, ideology, whatever, people believe that when the economy is fixed, their means of livelihood is secured or guaranteed. For which reason, any party who does anything contrary to this type of demand, you are likely to suffer the consequence of being booted out of office. That I'm sure they are not oblivious of.
Dr. Sasanti, thank you for joining us here on The Pulse. Well,
I am always grateful.
We're talking about the reopening of schools today. It's coming up really strongly with fears that there may be an imminent food shortage. We'll talk all about that when we return from this break. This afternoon, there are concerns by some groups, including the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, who are raising fears about a possible food shortage if the Education Ministry fails to release bursaries for running the various public senior high schools. Per the academic calendar, senior high schools are reopening today, but as at the last check, some of the schools are yet to receive their funds allocated for feeding on campus. The situation, according to CHAS, if not checked, could affect the quality of teaching and learning. What we need to do now is that we need to bring you the latest reaction to that. Joining me in studio is the spokesperson for the Ghana Education Service, Opoku Mensah, who's joining us to address some of these emerging concerns. Thank you, sir, for joining us here on the Pulse. So we understand that meeting is underway. As part of the concerns raised by Charles, government is moving to engage the various schools. But what do you have to say about the status of food supply to the various institutions?
Yeah, currently as we speak, food are on their way to the various schools. Distribution started on Saturday, and it is expected to continue to today and again to tomorrow. And even within that aspect, there are strategies to ensure that if a school do not receive as expected, there is a local arrangement which is done so that our students wouldn't go hungry. Our school resumes today, and the expectation is that once food is being transported, definitely there will be hitches, 1 or 2. But that situation is under control, and just this afternoon we are picking feedback on the ground from not only from personnel from the ministry or the Ghana Education Service end, but again we are picking information from heads of schools. We are liaising with them for them to give us the feedback. What has got into your school, what is on its way coming, and where we need clarification or answers from buffer stock. Buffer stock outfit.
Okay, let's get some clarity on that. So what you are asking the head teachers to do is to compare the figures. You have a last stock that you gave them, something that they can make do with?
Every school has got a specific numbers, the item of food or the quantity of food that they need in their schools. And as I indicated earlier, food distribution is currently ongoing within some of the regions. As we speak just now, schools food has got into the school as part of the preparation. Food distribution started on Saturday, and it is expected to continue today, even tomorrow as well. So the outfit of free SHS do have the figures as to the number of items that you should be supplied to schools. Buffer stock also do have same. So, but what we do is that we don't only rely on our personnel, that is from the Free SHS Secretariat, or what just buffer stock outfit feed us. That we need to get a contact with the school authorities where they give us the numbers. Is it true that this food has got into your end, quantity of food, which is it true that this quantity of food has got into your end? So that we can do double check and see where the problem lies, and quickly we can avert it as it can. But as we speak, food is ongoing, distribution is keenly ongoing, and from the briefing on the ground, it has intensified, and that is what we are expecting. So there is no cause for alarm. We should be rest assured and we should be resolute that the ministry, and the minister is a parent, is concerned. The Ghana Education Service Director is a parent and is concerned, and has been in the office right from Sunday, monitoring the movement of food to our various schools, where he takes briefing from the regional directors plus the reps within the various schools as well as heads, so that he can be abreast with the current trends as far as the food supply is concerned. So we are on track. We are supplying food to the various schools.
Is it fair to describe the problem as one that has gone out of control, a reason for which we're likely to face a crisis?
No. Within this space, schools in our country has never faced crisis and will never face any crisis in terms of food distribution. Your reporters can be in the various schools to report us to confirm or deny the claim that I'm making on your show. Buffer stock outfits are out there for you to also engage. Heads as well are there for you to engage. And the expectation is that within a certain period, as I indicated, where the ideal transportation of food is not even getting there, there is a local arrangement that can be sorted out within the week before your items come. So there can't be any issue about food shortages within our school. We are just opening, and there are traditions. Some of the schools, even if they open today, they don't cook. Others do cook based on the geographical location.
Of the school.
So we haven't even tasted it, and to talk about there will be a shortage of food. that can never be the true picture of the ground. That can never be a concern.
The last statement the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools released, they stated clearly that there were some arrears that government was supposed to deal with. You eventually released some amount of money, but it appears that you still have some arrears to deal with, correct?
Currently, what is happening is that there are some amount that has been released to the various schools. Others have indicated that it's hit their account, they do have the money. Others has got to do with the differences in the banks that do operate. I think within the commercial bank space, they probably may have received the money. But those who do clear withdrawal from the Bank of Ghana, I'm told that if it passed to you, can't access it, etc. So others have received their money. It's got to do with the mode of payment and the channel where you are receiving the money. So in terms of the food supply plus the money aspect, that is the current situation on the ground. And so that is why we need to be rest assured that authorities are really in charge and monitoring the activities as the food supply is ongoing. And we are picking information. If you haven't gotten your money, because we are in touch with them, they're able to tell us, well, I haven't gotten it. The other person is able to tell, I have got it. So it gives that assurance that if that person has gotten it, then definitely you also get it. So I think let us remain calm. I do understand where the difficulty will come from. But if you look at what pertains within the space, one, supply is currently ongoing. No student will go hungry if a school decides to cook today. Two, the recurrent monies that we're referring to, transfers have been made to various schools and which has got into their account. So therefore, it gives that assurance. And I don't think there is the need to panic. And if you are a parent listening...
Yeah, I was just talking about the parents, because those who are sending them to the schools, I'm sure you've started receiving calls that we're hearing news that there's no food, we don't want to send our wards to school. What message do you have for the parents?
The parents calling has got to do with what they are hearing within the media space. Okay. So therefore, it's important that authorities who are manning that institutions do come out to give a clear picture as it pertains on the ground. The assurance I want to give to parents is that the Ghana Education Service, led by Dr. Eric Nkansa, the Ministry of Education, led by Honorable Dr. Osei Educhum, is on the ground and ensuring that what the student is required is given out to them. So we want to improve learning outcomes. How then do we do it? Normally you do question about quality education, But to understand what quality education is, it means that you need to create a conducive atmosphere for teaching and learning. How then do you do that? A hungry belly cannot sit in the classroom to learn. So therefore, we do know what goes into education. That is why these authorities are on the ground ensuring that these items get to
There are two outstanding issues since we're talking about school reopening, which has also got to do with a free senior high school. Just last week or last 2 weeks, NATS, the Ghana National Association of Teachers, they were raising concerns about the feeding grants, the amount you give out. They need to review it and to, add something to it. Are you considering that strongly, that the need to try and revise the figures? Is the concern of NAT as well that you need to, add a little onto what's already existing?
That resides with authority. And again, we wouldn't be oblivious of the fact what pertains within the market space. The minister himself goes to the market. The director general also goes to the market and knows what pertains within the space. But what is important, what we also need to understand is that those items that naturally should have gone to the heads for them to go and purchase on the market are being supplied by government centrally from the buffer stock house. That is the 18 food items which are given out to schools. So it's got to do with the perishable items. That is what probably they may be referring to. All these proposals are on the table. Authorities are looking into it. Where we need to make adjustments, we do it. Where we need to reconcile certain figures, we do it. But as it sits, as it stands now, authorities are looking at all the issues. And appropriately, when the time is due, definitely a response will be given out.
Experts have raised concerns about the disconnect in how you run the buffer system just to ensure constant supply of food to the schools. The fact that you have the buffer stock running alongside the free SHS Secretariat, and GES would have to do the eventual implementation. Do you acknowledge that you have some defects in terms of how you're coordinating the supply of food within the senior high schools?
No. The chain evolves around these three institutions that you referred to. One, we need to understand that buffer stock is a strategic institution. Ghana Education Service, for example, if you're head of school, what we are expecting is that you don't worry yourself going onto the market to go and purchase food, whilst you need to supervise teaching and learning. So therefore, you have that comfort where you sit in the comfort of your office, and food is supplied to you for the matron and the other officers to take charge and cook for the student. That is what is expected. Constant supervision and monitoring of activities in the schools are paramount to learning outcomes, and that is what is expected of heads of schools. So therefore, these three institutions, the whole movement evolves around these three institutions. Ghana Education Service is the implementing agency. The free SHS outfit in there look at all these items where the headmaster should have gone to the market to purchase those items, are taken care of. And the ministry sits at the parent agency supervising all these. So buffer stock as a strategic institution gets us what we want to be in those schools. So if not that, the items that probably if it's left out to a school to do, the prices would be overwhelming for the school. So therefore, if you have that strategic institution dealing with that for you, gives you some comfort that you are rest assured that you probably get the goods.
Okay. So this is supposed to be the start of a new academic year, correct? Sure. Which means that the free senior high school policy will have an intake. How are you making adjustments for them? Because mind you, there's the concern about infrastructure and space for the ever-increasing numbers that you're taking onto the free senior high school policy.
But if you followed keenly the activities of free SHS, you get to realize this is implementation in 2017 up to date. Classroom accommodation, that is increment of classroom accommodation, spans more than 3,552. And if you are looking at a class size of 40, then you are looking at in excess of about 130,000 averagely. So a class size of 40 multiplied by 3,000 over 3,257. You are looking at 130,000 new spaces which have been created for students. And that is why you look at our calendar, we do have what is termed as the transition calendar.
Right.
Schools are winning themselves out of the transition calendar and going a single track. And
so there's no double track this time?
No.
For this year?
No, last year there wasn't any double track.
Yeah, but some schools were still running the double track system.
Calendars. We have the transition, the transitional calendar, and we have the single track calendar. The transitional calendar is that calendar is where we do have all first years in school, all second years in school. Unlike when it started, the double track started, where we have two groupings of same first years or second years, one coming and the others going up. Then this time we do have all first years in schools. If you are in second year, we do have all second years in school. So we don't have the double track that you used to know.
Okay.
We do have a transitional calendar.
So you can say same for the new sets that are coming onto campus, right? So all Form 1s, yes. There would not be any gold, green, yellow track for any of the students?
All Form 1s will be in school. Just last year, all Form 1s were in school. So that is the transition calendar. That is what is expected to continue. So there wouldn't be a division. If you have twin, you wouldn't have the elder in school whilst the
other one will be elsewhere.
No, you have both in school.
How about schools that do not have the facility? Because I recall the sector minister indicate that, well, in such cases, you're giving some chance to run the system, the double track system, or that's no longer the case?
We don't have a double track in the system. We do have a transitional calendar in the system. For example, Kumasi High used to run a double track. They are no more part of they run a single track calendar. So if you do have that facility, that is where you are able to accommodate these numbers. And those schools that do have these numbers, that is why government have gone in there to provide specifically what they need to support the academic work. For example, if you go to TRMAS in Kumasi, government are giving them 12 each visual arts block and business block, making 24 classrooms, plus a girls' dormitory as well, a 2-story girls' dormitory as well. So you look at, these are the specific needs for them to be able to contain the numbers, and these have been provided to schools, and it runs across schools. according to your specific needs, government intervenes and sets in there. And the expectation is that within these weeks, many of the projects will be completed. Others are nearing completion, where we need some finishing touches before it's handed over to the schools. And new schools have also come on board. You remember their Flower community.
Oh, you've completed that?
Yeah, sure. Go and look at it.
So they are doing the first intake?
With brand new labs, science labs.
Oh, you've given them labs as well. So they are doing their first intake today?
Yes, I think there are some students in there. And they'll have the huge numbers in there. And not just the idea of the community day school that we used to. There are additional facilities that government has. For example, these science labs that we're talking about, so that they can also have a feel of the STEM education that we've been preaching. So the new schools are coming on board. Others have been added onto the system. Others have also received an expansion that will be able to accommodate these numbers. And that gives us some comfort. If you're a parent, if you are listening to me, if you are a well-meaning Ghanaian, you are listening to me, please, you can take just a walk to any secondary school within your locality. Go and see for yourself what is happening there. I think
evidence-based.
Part of the system so that we can be able to say what pertains to
we need to.
Let me assure parents. It's not all that you hear in the media that you take to heart. We are with you. We are concerned as parents as well. Government is committed to ensuring that we do have a conducive environment for teaching and learning. Food, which is an essential component of the implementation of free SHS. As we speak, food is in the schools and food is being transported to the schools so that our wards will have that free mind, open space, enjoy the academic work so that we can have better learning outcomes.
All right then, and we're grateful that you've been able to join us here
Thanks
on
for
the
invitation
JoyNews channel.
Clarity.
Right. And that's Yao Bokuman's spokesperson for the Ghana Education Service, for the ministry, I should say. Sorry for that mix-up there. But this afternoon as well, petroleum consumers eagerly awaiting the arrival of cheaper fuel from the United Arab Emirates would have to wait a bit longer, despite assurances by the Energy Ministry that the initial consignment will arrive this week. The Lands and Natural Resources Ministry has pushed the arrival date further. This was after it held a crunch meeting with the Chamber of Mines.
On the 10th, 11th, 12th of January, the first consignment of finished products is going to arrive in this country from the United Arab Emirates. All the necessary agreements that needed to be executed has been executed. A lot more interest have been shown by other oil traders, that whatever it is that government is doing is intended to complement what it is that the private sector, who are operators within the space, are providing, just so that we can take some pressure off the dollar, okay, and make it available to other people who ordinarily would not be getting, and hence increasing the pressure on the city.
I want to bring in now Dr. Yusuf Suleiman, energy policy strategist. Thank you, sir, for joining us here on the polls, and Happy New Year as well. We'll be listening shortly to the Deputy Lands and Natural Resources Minister, but first I just want to take your thoughts on this, well, if you want to call it a shifted goalpost or timeline, whichever way you want to describe it, but it's certain that this arrangement will not work, at least not for this week.
Yeah, thank you very much, Blessed, and good afternoon to you and your cherished viewers out there, and Happy New Year to you, and many happy returns as well. Thanks for having me once again. Yes, it is such a news. It's like a U-turn, and I don't think consumers are going to welcome that. They will take it with a pinch of salt. And the reason being that just a few days ago, if you remember, some announcement was made, a kind of announcement that's sought to suggest that, because of the arrival of this particular deal, about $200 million was to be made available. It will be done in segmental basis within the first quarter. We're told that January, about $80 million was going to be auctioned to the, PSP, that is petroleum service providers. And then subsequently, February, March, we're going to have $60 million each, being auctioned. this is woefully inadequate, blessed, if you ask me. But I held my gun. I was saying that consumers shouldn't be worried because I thought probably this magnificent deal, a deal breaker, I mean, this kind of deal that we are all waiting for it to come to fruition, to see how it's going to pan out, that now that we are seeing that it may delay, then it's going to put a lot of pressure. They have to be, at this moment in time, some contingency measures, undoubtedly. Anything short of contingency measures put in place that will assure consuming public that, I mean, if the deal is not coming, then there should be some assurances that this kind of announcement that we made, that we can increase, the auction rate, the content that was supposed to auction. If it is not available at this moment and the deal is also going to delay, then, I mean, it's going to be more pressure. And the reason why actually we had, drastic reduction in the fuel, not drastic reduction, but at least some kind of reduction in the fuel price at the pump, is just because of the supply of the greenback, the dollar. If you notice, Bank of Ghana, they were able to meet about 70 to 80% of the PSPs, petroleum service provider, what they need or what they needed to have to import this finished product. And that's actually why we had the market, raising some coolants where consumers, actually has some relief. But if it comes to standard, we're going to have these same PSPs are going to go outside the market to source the rest of the dollars, which is in quantum-wise so huge. Then I can tell you that we're going to have much, much more pressure at the pumps coming by the end of this month. However, I think maybe they will have some contingency measures. If some contingency measures are put in place, then we can forestall potential, high prices at the pump.
And Doc, I just want to take your thoughts on the possible impact. What do you fear as that likely implication?
Yeah, so what I fear is we'll go back potentially to where we came from. Remember, we came from a point where pump prices were at record high that we hadn't seen before, and it was a record high because, I mean, it was just because of the supply-demand dynamics of the greenback, the dollar. The dollar was simply not available. It is crystal clear that our reserves are getting dwindled. And that is why we always call for sustainable measures. This kind of measure, I don't buy it. I don't advise that. But I felt it was just needed to cool down the pumps when it was so hot. And so that's how come I said, okay, that's a good deal to go. But should there be a delay and it is elongated, and the delay is elongated, what we're likely to see is that we're going to see again so much pressure on the greenback. Unless, of course, we have some reserves somewhere where we can pump into the system again. If you don't have any reserve anywhere, and Bank of Ghana stick to, the projection or the kind of auction rate that they spelled out earlier on, then it's going to be difficult. Imagine we are talking about $400 million on a monthly basis to be able to import this finished product. That's about 20% of the entire import bill of the nation. So that's so huge. And so this policy, I said, okay, if it's coming to relieve this kind of pressure that is perpetually being put on the dollar, then that's a good deal. However, if as it stands now, like I said, if it delays, then what we're likely going to see is that there's going to be massive pressure on the greenback, the dollar. And massive pressure means that if Bank of Ghana is not able to meet the 70 to 80% of what the petroleum service providers require to import this finished product in the month of January, February, then we're going to see pressures at the pump again. And there's no two ways about that. So there have to be some contingency measures, and they have to do that swiftly and announce that swiftly that something has been done. Maybe they have to revise the auction, whatever auction that they mentioned earlier on. They could end up revising it. If they revise it to give this assurance, I think it could be better. And blessed, what normally happens is that in the market like this, when the market is volatile, it's so susceptible to the kind of hikes that we don't need. And so that's why I'm saying that an assurance is required for the consuming public to be rest assured that something has been done. Because this policy was so much, talked about, and everybody believed in that. And so I don't think there should be any delay. If there's any delay on it, with respect to its implementation, I think the consequences could be dire to the consuming public, unless we have contingency measures.
Would you urge government to completely abandon plans to go for the cash for the gold for oil policy?
Yeah, so that's a difficult one. Left to be alone, I think there are better options to go, Blessed, than to go for this kind of trade. If, assuming Ghana, we were the custodians of our gold, if I say custodian, we should have substantial share. Players who benefit in this kind of exchange, they have so much reserve. So if it is gold, if it is oil, you should have the reserve available. Right now, we need about a minimum of 200 ounces of gold on a monthly basis to be able to meet the entire import bill that the PSP need. Where are we going to get that? And Bank of Ghana, they have to buy it. So I don't want to preempt it, but what I was saying is that this policy will succeed if they actually go into a very good agreement with wherever we're going to buy this gold from. And so if you buy it at a competitive rate, that we can also resell it to UAE, and we have some margin. That margin will be cascaded to the firm. Other than that, it doesn't really make tangible sense. If we have the gold and we have a market for it, gold is sold in dollars. We can sell it, get the market, do whatever we want to do with it. However, like I said, the caveat is if we had so much money, sorry, if you have so much, the reserve, that is good. When I say reserve, Ghana has reserve, but how much is our percentage? A lot of it is royalty, just like the oil that we have. And that's how come Bank of Ghana and the other players have to come in to buy this gold from from those who extract it from the down, those who have authority to extract it from the down. If he had that massive, let's say more than 50% of the Ghanaian gold shares into the government of Ghana, then that's a policy that won't be any pressure. And I'm very much hesitant in such a policy because, example, what has just happened, Blessed, anything that happened within the chain, within the supply chain, whether shortfall within the Bank of Ghana to meet its requirement, shortfall from the UAE or whatever, there's bound to be pressure. And so that's how we call for sustainable measure. And what is a sustainable measure here? We need to have a local-based refinery that is critical, that is efficient, that can churn out these products. We don't need to go and sell this product. Anytime you are dependent on your energy needs from external parties, I mean, you are exposed. I mean, your energy security is exposed. And that's actually what is coming to happen if you are not very careful.
No cause for alarm, is it? Because, well, some say if you look at what's happening to the cost of fuel on the market, it's performing quite appreciably. So, well, no need to worry, even if we don't have the consignments coming through at least this week.
Yeah, so at the moment, I really don't know how much stock we have. If you have stock that can last up to January, up to a point where they can resolve whatever bottlenecks that are holding or that is holding this particular deal to be implemented swiftly, then we shouldn't have that much problem. But see, this kind of break is a warning. It's a warning sign for us that we need to have a plan B to the extent that let's have sustainable measures. So if you say that there shouldn't be any cause for alarm, no. I think I'm not going to sound alarmed here, but I'm just saying that we have to be extremely cautious. If you look at the quantum that we need to import these finished products, then we must as well have that amount to be able to give to the BDCs and OMCs or whatever, the petroleum service providers, to be able to import that amount. What I'm saying is, why the fuel prices drop within those windows is because Bank of Ghana were able to supply about 70 to 80% of the BDC requirement. Finito. As simple as that. And if they are not able to meet that requirement, the pressure is going to come back again. This is what I'm talking about. So yes, we are on our marks. We are just waiting. We just want to wait and observe the situation. And I just pray that whatever issue that is causing this slight delay in terms of this swift implementation, I mean, it is resolved as soon as possible. But we should look at sustainable measures. These measures, I think, they are not long-term sustainable.
Right.
Yeah.
And very finally, you know the market too well. You've been engaging the BDCs and other stakeholders. What sense do you get from the private community as to what it is that government intends to do with this gold for oil policy?
Yeah. So there's a bit of let me say uncertainty. But the good thing from the side of the government, I think they've done a lot of communication. That's what I called for earlier when they announced it. I said, see, we already have a robust downstream sector in place that is performing well. And I put a record, and I think I commend them with their regulator, MPA, for ensuring that we didn't have any erratic fuel supply during those days. And it's not that we are out of the woods, Blessed. We just took ourselves off the pressure And so we shouldn't just say that we are out of the woods. So whatever that is done to be able to keep this pressure within this envelope, we have to keep that pressure without letting it to expose. So the fear is we shouldn't do anything that will endanger this downstream. Let's say downstream controls about 7 to 8% of our GDP as we speak now. It's huge. It has grown phenomenally over the years after deregulation. And so whenever we are bringing a policy, we should make sure that the policy should be complementary. It shouldn't come to disintegrate the downstream. And I think I want to believe that they have involved the downstream players. Anything that is that is short of involving the downstream players in this deal, for them to buy into it, to accept the concept that it's not going to destroy anybody's business, that is good. But if there's any fault in terms of implementation, whereby it impacts negatively on the activities of the downstream, I think it's going to be very bad, and that's what we should work towards to avoid that. It shouldn't impact negatively. I mean, the gains shouldn't be disproportionate,
right,
to the potential negative impact, on the downstream.
Dr. Yusuf Suleiman, I'm grateful for your time. Happy New Year once again. Well, let's stay on the extractive sector. Illegal mining remains a challenge to the mining sector. That's the concern of the Ghana Chamber of Mines, which says immediate steps ought to be taken to sanitize the mining sector. Government is still facing serious challenges dealing with illegal mining as policy measures over the years have failed to yield the desirable results. The president recently came under intense criticism for mounting a strong defense for a Kunta mining company, which is currently under investigations for alleged illegal mining in the Chano Nimri Forest Reserve. Listen to the president.
Let me respond briefly to the chairperson on the issue of illegal mining. I want to assure him and all of you that Akunta Mining is not engaged in any illegal mining anywhere in Ghana as we speak. Further, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources has, through the agency of the Forestry Commission, with the assistance of the military, made the effort to cordon off all 294 sites of forest reserves in the country and rid them of illegal mining as we speak. We will continue to work to ensure that this situation remains permanent. This government is determined to win the fight against Galamsey, no matter the cost in effort.
Well, let's stay on this because former President John Dramani Mahama is wading into the discussion on the president's defense for the Akunta mining company. In a post on his Facebook wall, John Mahama says the president must earn his pension for clearing his appointees and his close associates said to be involved in illegal mining activities. So there you have it. Let me read that out to you. John Mahama on his Facebook wall says that it is unacceptable that President Akufo-Addo has consistently put pressure on state anti-corruption institutions by announcing a clear by announcing clearance of the appointees and companies that are under investigation for wrongdoing. The pension by the president to absolve his appointees and other close associates of any wrongdoing, as he has done with the ongoing investigations into the operations of Akunta Mining Company, is a serious dent on the already deteriorating image of the office of the president, as though proud of that dishonorable batch. The clearing agent, as the former president is referring to, Nanado, has yet again justified the appointees, the appropriateness, I should say, of his nickname with the seeming presidential exoneration of Akunta Mining, a company owned by a member of his political party, the NPP, and accused of illegal gold mining in the country's forest reserves. The shocking impudence is how and when he even did that at a public event called by the country's Catholic clergy. Fortunately and unfortunately, we're told by the owner of Akunta Mining that the minister has explained to him they were forced to unwillingly act against his company because of public pressure from the National Democratic Congress, CSOs, and non-governmental organizations. He also very alarmingly said the president called him ostensibly to appease him over government action, and that the Office of the Special Prosecutor cannot touch him. This is sad commentary for a country that has in the past been held up in Africa as the poster boy for rule of law and democratic governance. This sad development also erodes the years of hard work which have earned Ghana international appeal in climate change and sustainable development discourse globally. In addition, the president's comment cannot be allowed to override or become a substitute for the statutory mandate granted the investigative bodies of Ghana by the Constitution. Such acts, according to the former president, fly in the face of justice and the fight against corruption, and of course erodes the faith of our citizens in democracy. As enjoined by our national anthem, we're to cherish fearlessly, honestly, and resist oppressors' rule. We must all, as citizens, support the anti-corruption institutions to carry out their duties fairly and courageously without undue interference by influencers. And that's the post by the former President John Dramani Mahama. Well, earlier today, Chamber of Mines revealed that illegal mining is still a challenge confronting the extractive sector.
If you look at the domestic gold purchase program, which we work with government on ourselves, it came with really strict rules around pricing of the gold, volumes of the gold, when it will be done, and it was done with the Bank of Ghana. I can talk about that because we crafted it together in a very collaborative manner with government. With gold for oil, there's still a bit of understanding on our side to understand of the program. Our side of it is the gold production, but that's all we know, really. I mean, we don't know the oil industry. We don't want to pretend to know about the oil industry. So there is a bit more engagement required on both sides. As far as we're concerned, the gold, the domestic gold purchase program is something we, together with government, crafted, and we're comfortable to talk about that, but not so much for gold for oil. Now, very, very interesting conversation. We all know what we call the elephant in the room of illegal mining in the country, and it's not just one person or government alone that will resolve it. I think it's all of us working to eliminate it. So we talked about that. We talked about the role of the military. In fact, I want to paraphrase what the military general said. He says, find, fix, and act. So you've got to find it, find the problem, understand what it is, and fix it and act on it. So it requires a number of people to do that. We, on our side, have a role to play. Government has a role to play. The citizenry, at the end of the day, also have a huge role to play. So it's not just one body. It requires all of us. If we all don't like it, then we've got to fix it. All our mining concessions have illegal miners on them. But who are the illegal miners? Their own brothers and sisters, right? So it requires all of us. It's not, like I said, it's not just government doing it. It's all of us, it's the host communities, it's the mining companies, it's the security agencies. It's a menace that we all need to work towards removing once and for all. Thank you very much.
And now, various construction companies in the country, including Sino Hydro, a contractor, Via Building, and Rolida, have asked more than 3,000 workers to go home due to non-payment of work done. According to the Construction and Building Materials Workers Union of the TUC, this will result in serious repercussions on the economy. Let's go live now. My colleague Samuel Kojo-Brace is monitoring the interactions live for us. Samuel, bring us up to speed with what we're learning now.
Well, Blessed, grateful. We are here with the General Secretary of the Construction and Material Workers Union of TUC to really understand what's happening in the sector, because like you've already told us earlier, he says that, I mean, the construction ongoing at the interchange in Takrady has grounded to a halt because of these things. But he is right here. Chief, grateful that you could find time to speak to us. I mean, why are you coming out with these details? Who is feeding you with this one?
The information came directly from the project manager. And personally, I was there with my IRO in Takrady, in the person of Mr. Elijah Joe Nieza. And the job at Takrady, which is the overhead, is about 80% completed. And we believe it should be completed by June, May, June, it should be done. Okay. And now they came out that there have been a press release to their outfit. And the job is a grant project. Being a grant project, when they finished with the claims, it is sent to the consultant, and the consultant will intend forward it to the urban roads. Urban roads will intend send it to the Ministry of Roads and Highways, and then it will be taken to the Ministry of Finance, back to the contractor, and then it will be sent to the donors at China. That is being a grant project undertaken by Sino-Hydro. And now at China, they will do the payment. And according to them, they've had 3 serious major projects done, claims, which should be paid for, so that they can continue with the job. But in the end, a letter which came on the 19th from the ministry has really conscientized their leaders.
Which ministry are we talking about?
Ministry of Finance came out with a press release letter on the 19th, and it was headed as suspension of payment of on selected external debt of the government of Ghana. And in detail, they have gotten to see that there is the need for the government to have certain changes or certain agreement with them. And because of that, their bankers over there are saying they are not going to release any money to them. And this is bringing this project to a halt. They are saying they cannot stay if no payment is done. And I must say that about 453 workers over there are being sent home. By 14th, they will have to be paid whatever is due them. And as I speak, the expert has also been sent. Some of them have been sent home. So I believe by 14th or by ending of this month, there will be nothing left over there. They've even started taking their materials to their main yard. And this is what we want to sensitize the government to know, so that at least if there should any way the government can come out, talk with them, for them to finish the project, because it is as a sensitive area in Western Region, Takrady. And you can see the Jubilee grounds where the market women are now selling, the dusty area, the potholes, which is happening over there. And the people are doing neat and very fast job that if a little push is given to them, it can be finished. I must also come up with contractor, which is also a construction company working on the market circle job. About 121 workers have been sent home. Kumasi over 339. And we can just imagine what is happening in the construction sector. And the government has come out emphatically that it's a year of roads. And being a year of roads as at last year and this year, then we don't know what is happening. So we are pleading to the government to fast-track issues so that at least the nod will be giving them to complete the jobs for us to have our freedom. This is what we're talking about. Yeah.
So these cumulatively 3,000 workers, have they gone home yet, or they are yet to be asked to go home?
Now, as I speak, we have about 3,145 workers who will be going home. They are home already. And some are even being paid half of their salaries, which is very bad. And we are saying that some contractors are saying government has not paid them their claims. And we want government to also fast-track, do the payments for them, because we can't just think of the social vices which will be in town. And those who also be jobless. Because there are other people who are suppliers. They supply the company with a lot of materials. All these things are going to cease. And it's going to be a cost to the nation. Because if we are to abandon such a project for even 2 months, it is going to be of a great cost to us. So we are pleading on the side of construction that the government should come to our aid, see to them, so that at least these jobs will be done in the shortest possible time.
Earlier, we were told that the IMF...
And so there you have it. My colleague Samuel Kojobre is engaging the contractors union live at Reach. Expect more in our subsequent bulletins. But now, it's time for Africa Connect. Well, the Gambian government this afternoon has charged the 8 soldiers of the Gambian Armed Forces with 2 counts of treason and felony conspiracy to commit treason. The government argues that these soldiers, together with some civilians, were involved in the coup attempt to unseat the government of President Adama Barrow. For now, security has been heightened in Banjul as government says it is taking steps to arrest one more soldier who's a warrant officer class 2, Lamin Jadama, a fugitive as he's being declared now. For more on this, let's speak to Omar Wale. He's the BBC's correspondent in the Gambia. Omar, thank you for joining us here on The Pulse. So how did, first of all, the security agencies get hold of these 8 individuals that are being charged now?
Arrested at different locations in the country, some of them at their houses and some at the military barracks. This was on the 21st of December. But before that, they also arrested 2 civilians and a police officer. Those were the 3 were first charged at the lower court in Banjul, and the 8 were charged. But one of them is still at large, and the government issued a statement said he's a fugitive, and they did everything possible to get him arrested and bring him to justice.
Do we really know the identity of this warrant officer who we're talking about, and how instrumental was he to that coup attempt, as the officials are explaining?
Well, as you know, even the alleged ringleader is a junior ranking officer in the Gambian Navy, and the officer that the Gambian government said is a fugitive is also not well known in the country. So not much detail, or he's not well known in the country. And even though they said there is also a captain who is also part of it and a lieutenant, but we don't know much detail. So the only person whose identity is known is the alleged ringleader, that is Lance Corporal Sanafadera.
How about response, or at least from the lawyer representing these 8 individuals? Have we heard from their side as well?
Not yet. So what they did was the matter was taken to a lower court, and but the court said they don't have a jurisdiction. So the case was transferred to the highest court. In the coming days, hopefully, they will take them the case will commence for both the civilians and the military personnel. Meanwhile, the government also set up an investigation panel, 11-member panel, to investigate the case. So within 30 days, they will produce their report and findings and submit to the government of the Gambia.
And I'm just wondering what the level of security is in the Gambia as we speak, especially around the presidential palace and even for the president himself, Mr. Adama Barrow.
Well, so many Gambians cast doubt on this alleged coup d'etat. So because of that, there's not much security in the country. I drove along the State House in Banjul today, but it's as normal business, like even the day the government announced that they foil a coup. So there's not much security within Banjul and outside. And the president was also outside. And even today there was a state funeral where cabinet ministers and even opposition politicians were there, but only the police band was present. So it's not as serious as most people would think outside of the Gambia.
Why are many casting doubts about the actual coup plots for which these 8 individuals are being tried?
Because they said, looking at the rank of the alleged ringleader, it's a lance corporal in the Gambian Navy, and it's a medic. So he doesn't have access to weaponry. He is not in a strategic position to stage a coup, or he doesn't have any influence in the military to convince or get all the military installations in the country to come together and uproot President Barrow. So that being the case, most people still think that it is not a coup. So most Gambians are even accusing the president of trying to use this as a justification to maintain the presence of foreign forces, that is the Ghanaians, the Nigerians, and the Senegalese, who are providing security in the Gambia since 2017.
And I'm just wondering what the international agencies, for instance, the United Nations, and what their reaction has been to this trial, and other international human rights groups.
Well, there's no reaction from them so far, but the civil society and the National Human Rights Commission has called on the Inspector General of the Police and the authorities to fast-track this case, because they said they don't know the condition that these personnel have been held. So their case should be treated properly and So that's why the government even had to rush the case. While the investigation is on, the matter was taken to court to charge them and keep them at the state central prison, Mile 2.
And very finally, there are some international watchers that are drawing the link of what's happening now to a subtle move by President Adama Barrow himself to seek re-election. Is that far-fetched, really?
Well, Barrow's popularity dwindled when he fell out with the main opposition, United Democratic Party. But also, ahead of 2021 presidential election, he also tried to form an alliance with former President Jammeh, who lives in exile in Equatorial Guinea, but 11-hour Jammeh pull out. So Barrow is grappling with that. And the Senegal influence as well. Most Gambians are of the view that Gambia is being managed by the Senegalese president, that is Macky Sall. So they said the president is not in charge. So all those things are contributing factors to Barrow's dwindling popularity.
And for the military, what can we say about their status now? Any changes in the ranks, reshuffling of some of the high-ranked military officials? Anything happening now or in the coming days?
No, the military is still intact. As you know, when the ECOWAS forces were brought into the country, the Gambian army was pushed back into the barracks. So responsibilities were taken from them and assigned to Ghanaians and Nigerians and Senegalese. For example, the Gambian seaport is handled by the Ghanaian forces. Nigerians are in charge of this airport, and Senegalese are handling the president's personal security. So the Gambian military mainly is engaged in patrolling the streets, but they are not in charge of the security of the country.
Well, Omar Wale, I'm grateful that you've been able to get us some updates, but we're grateful for your time joining us live there from Banjul. Well, yesterday I saw this at work from our sister station in Shira FM of the outcome of the game between Accra Hearts of Oak and Tamale City Football Club. Well, that game came off at the Cape Coast Stadium. Just look at the sad financial details that was recorded as we have it now, except on your screens now. That's the sad story of how football is now. So just have that on your screens, indicating that only 188 tickets were actually sold at the Cape Coast Stadium on Saturday when Hearts of Oak played Tamale City. And a gross amount realized what was actually 2,290 Ghana cedis. Hearts got some 417.50, if you want to call it 417 Ghana cedis, 50 pesos. And the National Sports Authority itself just had a paltry amount of 60 Ghana cedis. For some, that's how bad it is. And we're experiencing this sort of low patronage for our local league. And what do we do? How do we resuscitate that? And how do we get more funds to support this? The fans have actually lost interest in attending most of the games. The clubs are not making money from the gate fees, let alone talk about making enough to pay for football as well. In the UK and other parts of the world, football is indeed the backbone of the economy and turning talented young men and women who would otherwise would have been struggling to make ends meet. They are now millionaires, as we can talk about Messi, Ronaldo, and thousands of footballers who play in the European leagues. In some other cases, of course, Ghanaian players such as Mohamed Kudus, Thomas Partey, and others who are playing elsewhere are making a lot. So why is Ghana not able to emulate this situation? First of all, got to the streets of Accra, where the team caught up with some Ghanaians on what's happening as to why we're experiencing that low level of patronage for our Ghanaian football.
There's still Mensah. He whips in across. Eduku's header. And it's the second goal for Tamale City. Various Ghana Premier League centres continue to suffer low turnout, particularly following its resumption after the 2022 World Cup, resulting in a decline in match revenues for clubs. For instance, on New Year's Day, Kumasi-based Confines reported that only 48 tickets were bought in the club's matchday 10 game against Saint-Germain in the 40,000 capacity Babera Sports Stadium. Heavyweights Kumasi Asante Kotoko and Accra Heart of Oak are no exception, with both sides equally recording very low patronage in their respective matchday 11 games over the weekend.
Supporters, Danny Dang in a moment time with too much. Okay. bibia obi aya to management ye betie mu ye no mu be adwuma na bibia konkan kotoko supporters against Olympics and Shasi Safi with 2022, right? 2023. Safi with 2023. Monsha Potokoni Songo in any munyam say in charge of Monday supporters more. Songo.
This was Patrick Osei Ajiman, alias Countryman Songo, a co-opted management member of Kumasi Asante Kotoko, on his knees at the studios of Insura FM in Kumasi, begging fans to troop to the stadium ahead of the club's clash with Great Olympics. Despite the emotional plea, reports indicate only 3,009 fans purchased tickets for the matchday 11 fixture with the Olida De Boys in the 40,000 capacity Babara Sports Stadium. Also, at the 20,000 capacity Cape Coast Stadium, only 188 tickets were sold for the game involving Hatterfolk and Tamale City, with Hatterfolk getting a meager 417 cedis, 50 pesos, of the total gross revenue accrued. Further checks across other league centres point to a disappointing turnout for the country's top-flight football over the weekend. Meanwhile, for President of the Ghana Football Association, Kete Kweku, the ultimate responsibility for filling the stadium is on the clubs and not the GFA. Speaking at the 28th Ordinary Congress of the association, he was confident pragmatism and a scientific approach would be the best way to woo fans back to the stadium.
We're playing football, we're doing the business of football, but our fans are not consuming our football. Our fans are absent. Our spectators are absent. It should be a concern to every club owner that your fans are far away from your clubs. This is not the responsibility of the FA, it's your responsibility. There are other competing entertainment opportunities for every person. If you're not practical, if you're not proactive, if you don't put out strategies that will bring back your fans, believe me, your fans will not come. I'm talking to you. We need to be pragmatic. We need to be scientific. And we need to go back to the basics on how to win the 12th man back to our football. Usually, it's very normal for everybody to say, oh, GFA, yes, oh, boy. It's your time to do some work. It's your time as club owners and executives to listen to your fans, go to your fans, find their worries, and woo them back. And this is a challenge I throw to each one of us. We love our football, we want more money into football, but we can't be sleeping. We have to think about how to win the supporters back to our game. That is the only way we can grow this sport.
Saying he say, our leaders, they don't help the nation at all, especially in football. And they don't talk the truth, because what I've noticed, we Ghanaians, we like foreign football more than our our local league or local football. You see, so at least they should wake up and help the local football, so that the football will go far more than the European one. Though European one there is far better, but we can't compare ourselves to them. But they should do something about it. So at least our leaders should wake up.
The Ghanaian football team, they should stop bribing, those who don't know how to play the football, they should face them. They should stop the coaches and the referees, how sometimes the team is red, they say white. I think these kind of things that's why people don't watch the local team in Ghana here. Because I think me myself, I used to watch it, but now I stopped watching. I stopped watching because the Kotoko gave me some broken hearts those days. From there, I said, no, I don't want to put myself in the Ghana football team.
The Ghanaian local teams are less, the teams, the pitch are not attractive. There's nothing interesting about it. There's nothing interesting about the local league. So I would prefer watching the English Premier League, the Chelseas, the La Ligas, and then the German Bundesligas than the Ghana Premier League.
Looking at this critical, as the system or the structure of our football, no, our nation, no, I think the support, no, our firm because of how the system is going. But over Ghana, Hana, as favoritism, the nepotism, it really your football team, no. And we think to me, number, we are ready to die for the nation.
Our leaders, they have to support our local team. They have to support. Because when you are watching the other countries and their teams, they are far better than us. They are winning bonus. We need sponsor. They are sponsoring some different programs on the TV we are watching. But in our soccer, we saw Omubomodin Mai. Omubomodin Pa, Omufasika Omu coins, Omu support to Nagana local league in Nkosru.
You see, the team be say, if they do something, with the team you make come well. I think people will get attracted to it and they will come. But I think say yeah, when you phone GF, when you phone to me organize a Premier League in year because year 2 you know we La Liga and English Premier League in Adena. Oh, say because of the more organized identity, no, ni power a person no, I didn't have my mean cohe. And the two, I quite say so I ever Ghana and so you pay a diem. What you say? So then and kebi or more and come in here or they are doing it right. I think say we all you like to watch. You understand? It's, I would say we the Ghanaians you don't like our own. And two, the organization to organizing the thing well. So that to be attractive or to attract the nation to even watch Ghana Premier League.
To my knowledge, the media have given the foreign team a lot of airtime than our local team. For example, the media, if they are on air, they can use, you see some media man wearing JC, Barcelona JC. You can't see any media in the scene wearing even Kotoko or has JC doing any presentation. The media should help the teams, promote them higher.
Okay, so let's have a conversation on this. Bismarck Osubempa is head of the Insura FM Sports. They're leading a special campaign just to bring back the love, not just for the Black Stars, I guess, Bempa, right? But also for our local leagues, correct?
It has been a worry to every stakeholder of the game that in the past 15 years, the numbers to the stadiums and the following of Ghana football has been dwindling, and I think it's a campaign that is worth every penny of any stakeholder to invest in.
I must commend your team for that, but even before we get into the details, let's hear from Patrick Akoto, who's Communications Director for GALCA, the Association for the Local Leagues. And just before I come back to you, Bempa, so we can expand the conversation, let's start off with Patrick. Patrick, what do you see as that biggest challenge to you, the local clubs, in trying to get things work?
Well, it's multiplicity of factors, I must admit. We've tried as much as possible. The low attendance is a major sticking point for most of the clubs. There have been issues about, many people have enumerated various reasons why we appear to have run into a cul-de-sac or where we are at the moment. But we are very grateful to multimedia, especially FM, who are leading this campaign to help in ensuring that we get the fans back to the stadium. It's a collective effort of all principal stakeholders, and we think that it's in the right direction. It's a major concern for club owners and for every club. And for where we are, it is important that we begin to talk and ensure that we bring back, if we continue to trumpet bringing back the love, it's important that we get the fans into the stadium.
I was asking that question because I wanted to know where we could be targeting that campaign towards? What should we be focused on? Is it just getting the funds into the stadium?
Well, beyond just looking at the media, the clubs have responsibility. The Football Association has responsibilities. I mean, I have surprised that, for instance, we play a season and the level of promotion has been on the low. I mean, the stakeholders, the football clubs, the Ghana Football Association, the government in providing infrastructure for the football, and of course, the media, because they are principal stakeholders in that regard, in trumpeting the very positive that will attract supporters onto the stadium. I think that in as much as we have a lot of challenges, we will plead that we lower down on the level of negativity, where we appear to highlight the level of negativity and detriment of the people that we can talk about. So, like I said, it's a multiplicity of factors, but we are even grateful that this particular low attendance has come into the front burner. Today we are talking about it, and it's all a way of letting people know that it's important that we get back to the stadium. I mean, sometimes the very architecture of the facility makes it difficult. Let me give you a classical example because I work as the communication director for Media Mass Sporting Club. Now, you are unable to get the full capacity as required because the fans will tell you that they will come to the stadium and they will start. There are no sitting capacity, for instance, and typically like a low-lying area like Chapman, they know that by 2 p.m. it will rain. And so when the rain sets in by 2 p.m., they don't see why they should even come to the stadium. Thankfully, we are moving into a new edifice, the ultra modern TNA stadium, which will be completed by the end of this year.
Right.
So we are hoping that narrative will change when we move to the stadium.
Okay.
Issue of infrastructure, all these issues culminate to where we are. But this discussion has come to the front burner, and we are all finding a solution to the problem.
Okay, and I'm glad that Insura FM is leading that. So, Ben, tell us exactly, in clear terms, what you're seeking to do with this new campaign.
What we are seeking to do is basically to find out what the problem is, get to speak and engage with the various supporters. What is the problem? Why are you not attending matches? What can be done so that you reverse your decision to attend matches? That is what we are simply holding on. Why are you not attending games? And what must we do as stakeholders to get you back to the various stadiums?
Yeah, but you're quite confident with the industry or the sporting fraternity. What do you see as that big challenge confronting the sector now, the local clubs?
I think from the start of our campaign, what we've realized are a lot of issues. Number one is the lack of organized support. In the past, the supporters will tell you we were organized on the circles level, on the chapters level, at the shaft level, where locally you will have a group of people who support a particular team, who organize themselves. And during match days, we have a coordinated way of going to the stadium. That is lacking now. Others will raise issues of investment into football, whether it is coming from the government or from the various club owners and the GFA and sponsorship monies and all that. So they say when you compare our league to the other leagues outside, you could see proper investment that makes it very, very attractive for people to watch. People can raise the issue of apathy with the GFA. Yes, they have problems with the administration of the GFA, and that culminates into them having the attitude of having a bad attitude towards anything football. So yes, I am a Kotoko fan, but I don't like the way the Ghana Football Administration is being run. So I will not even venture into my team and go and watch anything football. So the apathy with the Ghana Football Association is also a very, very key role. Some have raised the issue, especially those who play at the NSA venues have raised issues of e-ticketing and the issue that they are having with the technology when they are purchasing those tickets is also something that is very, very distasteful, and it's not really encouraging them to go and buy the tickets. So you can go on and on with these problems, but these are the main facts: lack of organized support, investment into our teams, lack of quality, lack of consistent players, because people will tell you in the past we used to go and watch these players, but now we go to stadium and we don't see these quality players. And even those who come up, they don't stay in the league for long. They play 1-2 seasons and they are off. So you go to the stadium and basically you don't have anybody to go and watch. You don't have anybody to sell the game for the supporters to really come. So we are compiling these issues. We are compiling these concerns. And we want to speak to them and find solutions together as we continue to engage. And I've spoken to some members of the EF and I've told them, look, concern the issues of our party, you would quickly need to autonomize the Ghana Football Association and the league so that it will be organized by the supporters themselves. We've asked club administrators to continually engage their supporters and make sure they revamp their local supporting base so that we can have organized support and be able to come to the stadium. The issues are very, very pressing. And if you look at the consequences, it is very, very direct on the local league.
In fact, this is why I'm declaring my support for the campaign the team is running at Insura FM. And Bismarck, I must laud you together with the Insura FM sports team. Patrick, any final words from you?
Well, we will continue to be grateful to Insura FM, for instance, and my good friend Ayala and his team, who are doing a fantastic job. In finding goals, but we can only play an edge that I think that the Ghana Football Association, as a matter of agency, will hold a stakeholder engagement with the principal artists in the media and find a solution. The media is a very key component in a massive driving force in bringing the supporters to which is important that we engage them to find a solution in dragging and of course getting there are competing demands as well. So it's important that if we want to get our fans back to the stadium, then we need to do things differently and just right.
And the campaign,
we are very grateful. And yes, it's important that the GFA, the other clubs, especially the regulators and the Ghana Constitution, get in touch with multimedia so that this campaign will continue unabated and ensure that we get the fans back to the stadium. We can on the reasons why people are coming. We want to be sure that these are consequential. Let's look at the solutions now and look at how we can get our fans back into it.
Yeah, and that's what we're seeking to do here. Patrick Akuto there, Communications Director for Galka. Bismarck also, head of the Insura FM sports team.